I'm used to standing when you are addressing at the House. It's not normal to sit. Thank you. Chair, it's quite a bit of questions and some were relatively the same, so I'll club them together without really going through one. I was packing them as honorable members were making questions. The involvement in making investments. Councillors do not participate in supply chain management. The process that was engaged by Polokwane municipality was ran by officials. No involvement of the mayor. They advertise, they get responsible for, the MM gets responsible for the appointment of committees, that will be the bid evaluation, bid adjudication, appoint. After appointment, Section 52 of the MFMA says all contracts, not one, all contracts that the MM would have entered into at a particular quarter must all be reported to council. So the report was not a VBS report per se, for starters. So what you do, you report all of them. If there are 20 in that quarter, you will report 20 of them, you put them in the table. Contract one was related to water, awarded to contractor so-and-so at this value, starting time or date or whatever, etc. That's where the contract management plan of council comes from and gets to be updated all the time. So there is no involvement of the mayor or any councillor. So there's no councillor, even if it's a MMC of finance, who will sit in the process of the appointment of any service provider. Gundu was not a service provider of the municipality. If you look into the definition of National Treasury and the FMMA, it states clearly that a service provider provides a service, gets remunerated or paid by council or government for that. Hence, the bid is called unsolicited. I'll make another example, which happens mostly in municipalities. It happens even in SARS now, where a company gets to be appointed to collect rates and taxes, the debt, on behalf of the municipality. That contractor does not get money every month on the basis that he has called 100 people. No. It's an unsolicited bid where you get a particular portion as agreed in terms of percentage, how much you have brought back. Let's say you have collected 100 rand and the contract says you get 2%, you will get 2% of the collected 100 rand. It's the same as the broker fee. As you get business, it is on the basis of the percentage that you have agreed upon on the broker fee that you get paid. So not the exact typical definition of a service provider. And my view really still is they were not a strictly service provider as you define them, but they were providing a service, yes, to the municipality, not at the cost of council. So they are the ones, for example, in this instance, the committee and the finance office will look into the funds of the municipality and say, we have got a surplus fund of 2 million and we want to invest it. And then he will go out, get quotations on the basis of the interest rate, come present, and they make their own decision. We only get to be informed as council through Section 52 at the end of the quarter on all what would have transpired. In any, whether it's a water project or it's a road project, it gets to be included in Section 52. My understanding, which still is my understanding, was that Gundu is a registered financial service provider. Yes, they might have not, as I get to know later, that they were not accredited with the national credit regulation. My understanding also, on another hand, I've requested quite a number of times, either from my brother or anybody, can you loan me money? It does not necessarily have to be on the basis of a registration. Maybe loan is not the right word in the example that I'm making, but I'm saying I can ask you, Honorable Trollip, and ask, can you borrow me money on Friday? And you say yes, and on Thursday you kill your mom, you give me the money on Friday, the following week I get to know the money you gave me comes from an act that would have been. I loaned from Gundu, not from VBS. I loaned from Gundu. My contract is with Gundu, not with VBS. So that's where the distinction is. And I regret the harm it has caused the people of a vendor in particular, because mostly the beneficiaries of the bank and the depositors were coming from vendor. I'm not saying it's an action where, if I look back on hindsight, I don't think one should have done things differently. No, hindsight is bedside. One would have done things differently, but I had no knowledge of the mechanics of the bank inside. The reason why I made a withdrawal, or I requested for a withdrawal, almost all the investments that were made, even the ones of Standard Bank, were made under the acting municipal manager. A municipal manager was appointed on the 1st of May of the July month where the withdrawal was made. So he gets appointed on the 1st of May. He starts doing rounds. He comes to report to me on our monthly Monday meetings. He says, one worry I have picked up is the investment, not the other liberty or whatever. Well, of course, they were also having a very nominal return, which was another issue that he raised on the other investments. I'm going to check if they are a commercial bank. He returns, I think 2 days or 3 days after that, he says, I've made the verification, they are not a commercial bank. He writes to withdraw the funds from VBS on maturity. Maybe it may also be prudent to explain to members that the amount was not necessarily that it was 349 taken in 1 day invested. It was a 6-month short-term investment. You take the interest and sometimes return it at the same amount or in other different amounts. So the committee never sat in one time and decided to invest in VBS alone. How did I get to know that it was during the investigation? Because I did not have, as a councillor, the innings of, but they will have 200, give 50 there, give 20 there, give, and then reconvene again and do that. So ultimately, it became 300 and something for VBS. Even when you calculate for Nedbank, Liberty and whatever, it was at the range of around 300. Not that that justifies the question. So when I'm saying, the investment, when I'm saying I then said to the withdraw it, it was because it's a joint decision which we took before a council sitting. Right? We will then inform council. Otherwise, why would I have an expert appointed by council 2 months before, started in May, withdrew the money in July? Then I don't take his advice. In fact, if you look into the BDO report, not that every remedial action that is done, you will like it. Shame he's cited there. Because BDO said you shouldn't even have waited for that 2 months. You should have withdrew it with immediate effect. You nearly lost. But in my view, you withdraw before time, you would have lost the interest of council. But he's part of the people who transgressed the official. So the CFO, the deputy CFO, he was 2 months on the job, as I say, when he initiated the investment. So it's not that Gundu reported to me and then I said, withdraw. No. It was on the advice of a municipal manager who had just started 2 months. The interest, funny, even when we were looking at the transaction ultimately at the end. Honorable Trotty, if someone gives you money and you do not pay for about 3 years, as I said in my engagement, that Sylvanas only registered 3 years after that, being carried by a company under T5, which is also called Golden Threads, which was doing consultancy work, mostly in social facilitation, and a T5, which also had an interest, an investment group, which was also doing work mostly in the construction, and which my brother was running. So I think that is the essence. Honorable Glenis Breitenbach, T5. My mom comes from a family of 5. And I don't know, by coincidence, all of them had girls whose names start with T's. There are 2 Tembis, myself and my elder sister Tembi. There's Tabiso, there's Tabane, and then there's Tutu. So we actually call ourselves something that I wouldn't mention in an official house, as a group of girls coming from that. And it's a relationship I value because I never had an older sister. All of them are older than I am. When you talk to them, they will tell you how foolish I have been growing up. So that's where the name comes from. And I'm glad you noticed that is not a normal, yeah. So it comes from a collection of sisters who have traversed life together. I attempted a loan, as I indicated, that upon resignation from public service, I withdrew my pensions. I placed them with FNB. They placed them under Alan Gray, whatever they are called, but the Alan Gray Fund. The costs were as exorbitant as this cost. It was at that level. I actually even went some of my little minor savings that one does on a monthly basis, hope you die soon or whatever. I even went to Old Mutual where I had some. I inquired. It was not affordable for me at the time, and I wanted the venture. The payment in 4 years, I think I had explained it, and that's what makes the interest rate to be equal. But funny, even if you can go today, take that money, which I've done also, again, to check and correct and see if whether was there anything really that one I didn't look into. It came at about 2 points down from a calculation of a financial investment, which is a bank. The money that I took, the time I took, I kept with, and the period that I paid it back. Now, when I registered Sylvanas, I was almost getting ready to start with the payments, repayments. It takes me into what Honorable Danas asked about the overall amount, and I'll cover it now. The repayment, let me start it this way. When I was getting ready, then there were calls from National Treasury. In fact, their email, to be specific, was instructive withdrawal, which came later after we had already withdrawn or made a notice to withdraw. It was in August, the money came in September. That's the time of the registration of Sylvanas getting ready. Now it's an entity. It took about 3.5 years to build the entity to be able to stand on its own and have its own bank account. Otherwise, it has been trading under T5. Actually being subsidized to a large extent by what my brother was doing and the work that I was doing at Golden Threads at the time. Declarations. Declarations were made at the municipality. The declarations are not structured the way honorable members are asking, unfortunately. In fact, when I did my first declaration here in Parliament, I saw a huge distinction between a declaration that is made in council and a declaration that is made in Parliament. The declaration at the municipality, in fact, by the way, they should be appearing on the annual reports. So which means honorable members can go into the website. Obviously, you will not get the package of the declaration. You will get a summary, and it depends on how they summarize it. And sometimes AG finds a question, they are never really updated. But every councillor is supposed to declare, and it will write what have you declared. Some instances value, some instances they wouldn't calculate and all that. But coming into the National Assembly, I did declare the business. At the time, the loan was long repaid. So, Honorable Trollip, to be exact, in council, the businesses were declared, not the loan. There is no declaration that asks for a loan. AG did try, I think, in 3 or 4 years ago to jointly with National Treasury to issue a sample of what municipalities must do in declarations. Honorable Trollip, I would like to make a correction, which I think is not only from what is written that I'm an old councillor. No, I've only been 8 years in council. He was my DM, by the way, he knows. When I walked into Polokwane municipality, my first relationship with the municipality was me paying a bill and nothing else. I had no knowledge of local government. The least that I've tried to do was out of the own effort of reading the ordinances and the acts ultimately into shaping what my peers recognized then. So when I was president of SALGA, or rather deputy president of SALGA, or the chairperson in the province, I must have been a councillor for 2 years or so. To be exact, I did not start even the term of mayorship in 2011. I became a mayor at the resignation of a mayor who resigned in April or so of 2014, and I became a mayor in 2014 for 2 years. And that is the explanation that I'm giving, that you are resigning on the other side, but it does not give you necessarily a full guarantee that you will have another term to do any work as a public office bearer. Rather look for other alternatives. So there's nothing wrong with the timing in terms of the payment. I do believe, and I still do, it would have been very wrong for me then and now, when you are notified that there's an investigation taking place, you are supposed to appear and then you quickly start making payments. I just thought it will, because I had a period of about 3 years as in agreement, not servicing that until the company was fully registered in 2019, and the bank unfortunately collapsed in the beginning of 2020. So the entire purchase price, Honorable Dele, from the part of recovered that one had to advance from the other side was 232. which means it was 8 something. You will put the 565 and the 232, which was the amount that the 565 didn't cover. So even Gundo did not have the entire amount that I was initially requesting. And recovered, hence I explained that the first payment in terms of servicing the coffee shop, I had to start with recovered, which was also having a shortage of about 200. I think I've covered, and I'll go to the area of the conflicts. The question also which spoke about the Standard Bank repayment. I'm not sure if the Honorable Member Trolip understood me very well, or maybe I misunderstood the question, which is also possible. The municipal bank was Standard Bank. I've never banked in Standard Bank. I've never made payments to Standard Bank. The point I was raising about the investigation was that if you have looked into that chapter 13, there was a portion which was saying recoveries, recover money lost, blah, 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 or civil recovery. That's why I said we then went back with National Treasury and Provincial Treasury to Standard Bank, which is the municipal banker. Them looking exactly as to whether did the money that has been paid back reach the municipal bank account, and it did. And the only transgressions that remain were for the officials and the executive mayor. In that I contravened Section 52 of the MFMA, and I was sanctioned with the University of Pretoria, as I have. Now, I want to go to the issue of a conflict of interest and the direct relationship that the Act, or rather the NPA Act, gives to the minister. I also want to look into the fact that because it has happened in history, it guarantees that it will happen futuristically, as if history has not been a teacher in what needs to happen, even in terms of government, or rather of parliament, playing its role with regard to oversight, which is what currently the committee is doing. And I think honorable members will agree that things have changed, for starters. Secondly, if there was still that naivety and arrogance, possibly this sitting might have been overlooked by an old minister who would have thought, I'm not accountable or responsive to the committee that is calling outside an inquiry but wants fairly an understanding, which is what led to the availing of the contracts and the proof of payments live to the report that has been made to the president, because the advice I got from a council was that I can display or make known and open such documents to the president, who you all know has requested the report and it has been furnished. And those documents are there. But I'm not taking your time and your concern for granted, that I will come here, give you dates, name banks when the payment has not been made. I will never do that. I will never do that. The instruction to withdraw or the instruction to prosecute, even the Act says at the request. So the request of the minister. So the NPA will just not write. There will have to be a request. Now the test is sitting with honorable members here, availing myself to account, and still write a letter to NPA demanding this and that. I don't think that will be honorable. The Act is very clear. It doesn't say mandatory reporting. It says at the request. I have not made that request. I don't intend to make, even on my sister's case. You can actually even ask them, my first meet and greet with them, I gave them that commitment that there is this case that you all know I'm sitting in. I will never, openly, not in a meeting of one, TM was there, all the executive of the NPA were there. I gave them that guarantee on day one, because that was the thought that I had in my mind, that they are not comfortable and they may be thinking, this is the time. I said, I commit myself in front of all of you, that area you will work as you always do, you will report as you always do. In this instance, and my word verbatim was, I'm part of you. Even on the TRC matter, we must jointly work together to find a solution. So VBS will not be different as a matter. I will not want to really engage more on the minister availing such. Suffice to say, Chair, I can engage with my council and see the possibility of bringing the documents to the committee, in committee possibly, and honorable members, if they feel strong that the mentioning of the payment, the mentioning of the contract is not sufficient, then I can respond to all those questions. I think I have touched on all. Well, Honorable Matafa had asked the last question whether I have seen sight of a VBS report from the NPA. No, I've seen sight of no report, actually. Not even about any other thing. Suffice to say that we met on a meet and greet. I actually have not even had an opportunity to work thoroughly on the issues in the department overall. I'm 2 months or so at work. Thank you.